Mr. Ninblasto's Game Review! Kirby's Epic Yarn and Yoshi's Woolly World. Two fun and charming games made by the company named Goodfeel, who, hasn't really made any games that were loved by many lately. But the two games they did make that were loved by many were Kirby's Epic Yarn for the Wii and Yoshi's Woolly World for the Wii U. Both of these games are celebrating their anniversaries this month, so I figured that I'd replay both of them not only because of that, but because it's also been multiple years since I played these two games. I was originally going to make two separate videos for these games, but because they both have a similar art style, were made by the same company, and released really close to each other in the same month, I figured I'd just review both in one video and determine which one is better. And I'd be able to go into more detail for both of these games, so that this video would be longer. I have a weird relationship for both of these games. Woolly World was one of the first Wii U games I got back in early 2016. I played it a bunch as a kid, and dang near 100% completed it. There was just one level I could not get everything in, and it was because I was missing two stamps, which I'll get into later into this video. But other than that, yeah, I beat absolutely everything. I last played it sometime in 2019 after Yoshi's Crafted World released, because a lot of people were saying Woolly World was better, so I tried replaying Woolly World but got bored, and just went back to Crafted World, which looking back, is really crazy considering all the hate Crafted World has gotten over the years. Then my friend's birthday was coming up in October, and wanted this game, so I gave it to him and never played it again unless I went to his house and played it with him. But yeah, ever since 2019, I've seen Crafted World as the better game, and now that I rebought Woolly World earlier this year, and replayed all of it for this video, I'm really curious to see if Crafted World is as bad as people say it is. But yeah, for now I'm going to put Woolly World as the better game since I got a refresher on it and enjoyed it as much as I did when I was 8. So now all I gotta do is replay Crafted World and see which game is better. As for Epic Yarn, my relationship for this game is even weirder. I got it sometime in 2017, I was still relatively new to Kirby, and wanted to play as many Kirby games as I could. And Epic Yarn ended up being one of them. Me and my dad went out game hunting one day at GameStop at the mall. Back when the mall still had a GameStop, and back when GameStop had dedicated Wii sections. Jeez, that's so long ago now. Anyways, I saw Kirby's Epic Yarn and immediately asked my dad to get it for me, but instead, I don't even know if GameStop still does this, but if I could beat it in 3 days, I could return it and get my money back. Again, I don't know if GameStop still does this or if it was just a one-time only thing, cause this doesn't seem like something common to do. But anyways, I was able to beat it in 3 days and get my money back. And I think I spent that money on Kirby's Return to Dreamland, but sadly that game broke. But I rebought it since then, and I also rebought Epic Yarn in 2020 on the Wii U eShop. I tried getting back into it, but I just couldn't for some reason. So then I tried again just last year in 2024, complete unboxed this time around, and just let it sit on the shelf until October of 2025, which is now, because I knew I would make a video about this. So now, I have finally replayed both, and it is time to determine which game is better. It has now been 15 years since Kirby's Epic Yarn released, and 10 years since Yoshi's Woolly World released. So let's see how well these two games hold up now. Yarn versus Wool! Which is the better fabric? Kirby's Epic Yarn shows an intro cutscene with Kirby just enjoying his usual life. And wow, the cutscene actually has full voice acting.
Welcome to Dreamland, a kingdom famous for peace and quiet. It's the perfect little land, if you like that sort of thing.
It makes the cutscenes feel way more charming than they already are. Anyways, Kirby's enjoying life and is about to eat this Maxim tomato. Yes, Maxim tomato. You can't fool me with this misinformation, book reader.
Kirby gulped the Metamato right down. Metamato right.
But as Kirby is about to suck it up, a guy fully made out of yarn appears and gets mad at Kirby for almost eating him. So he activates his magic sock and sucks Kirby up into this portal where he's taken to a new world and is now made up of yarn. He encounters a new character named Prince Fluff who is being chased by a monster, and Kirby tries to defeat it by using what he only knows, but since he's made out of yarn, it didn't work well at all. But then Kirby learns new powers while being made out of yarn, and he was able to escape from the monster. And then eventually they find an even bigger monster, and was able to defeat it. And magical yarn appears, and Prince Fluff explains that the evil sorcerer named Yin Yarn split this place called Patchland into separate pieces, but the magic yarn we recovered is what keeps Patchland together. And it was able to stitch a piece of Patchland back together, and the two of them go on a journey to recover Patchland to its original state, to stop Yin Yarn from whatever he's doing in Dreamland. As you progress through the game, you see that Yin Yarn was able to invade Dreamland very successfully, knitting imposter Waddle Dees until they took over King Deity's castle so that he can teleport Deity to Patchland, and do the same to Meta Knight. And even though he has Dreamland all to himself, he doesn't know what to do with it, so he kinda just chills until the end of the game. Now let's head on to Yoshi's Woolly World. And this game takes place in an entirely new location called Patch Island. There is absolutely no information about this place. It's just a place where Yoshis hang out, I guess. But while the Yoshis were just enjoying life, Kamek flies in and turns all the Yoshis into magic wool and stuffs them all into his bag. But two Yoshis were able to hide in this yarn, which protected them from the magic. And just as Kamek was about to flee, the two Yoshis tried to stop him, but he was able to escape and hid some of the magic wool in a nearby island. So the two surviving Yoshis decided to go on a journey to find the magic wool and recover all the Yoshis back. Honestly, both of these stories are kind of underwhelming, but they do the job. They fit the theming, I guess. But I think Epic Yarn takes the cake here, because it explains how Kirby got to his new location. Meanwhile, Woolly World is just like, yup, this place exists and the Yoshis live here. So for that reason, Epic Yarn takes the first point. Since Kirby's now made out of yarn, Kirby can now change his form with ease, like turning into a car to go faster, become a weight to smash things, become a little submarine, and become a parachute to slow your fall. You can get really fancy with your movement once you get the hang of things, but most importantly, Kirby now has a new Yarn Whip move, which is the main thing that will replace his Inhale move. This lets him grab and swing onto things, or unravel objects and enemies, but by holding the 1 button while unraveling something, you can turn them into a ball, and throw it at something, or defeat enemies by chucking it at them. As for the levels themselves, they all complement Kirby's new moveset well, letting Kirby change the layout here and there, and go inside the background and out. It's really cool, and each level has 3 secrets, similar to that of energy spheres or other collectibles in modern Kirby games. These consist of furniture and music discs. The furniture is used for Kirby's apartment. Yes, you heard that right, Kirby has a literal apartment building in this game. But I figured I'd wait and decorate it for after I beat the game. And the music discs are, well, songs from the game's soundtrack. Not much else to say. But there's a major problem. The way these secrets are displayed are terrible. Finding them are whatever. Nothing hard or downright dumb. Just, oh hey, there's a secret. That's cool. But the way the game shows them in the pause menu is just horrible. Sometimes it's accurate, but other times the last collectible that is displayed in a level is displayed as the first one. Why? Again, not every level is like this, but come on, that's downright terrible. I spent a lot of time in this level searching for the first secret only to find out that the first secret was right here all along, and it was something I already collected a long time ago, but is for some reason displayed as the second collectible, while the first one that goes right here was actually the last one you get in the level. You see how confusing this is? But other than that, the secret locations are okay. Nothing hard, but I'd rather have easy to find collectibles in a game than BS locations that shouldn't take hours to find but do anyway. Other collectibles to find in a level are 3 pink circles with stars on them, and these are used for the end of each level, where a giant wheel is spinning, and the more stars you land the wheel on, the more beads you get. Oh yeah, beads. These are just this game's version of coins from Mario or stars from other Kirby games. So yeah, Epic Yarn's gameplay is looking great so far. So how does Woolly World compare? Let's find out. Unlike Epic Yarn, Woolly World is more intact with other games in its series. Woolly World's controls are practically the same as Yoshi's Island's controls, where you can run, jump, flutter jump. I like how his shoes become a propeller when he does this. Eat enemies with his tongue, and instead of making eggs, he makes balls of yarn. Yarn balls are basically the same as eggs, but now have special features. You see these wireframe looking objects? Throwing a yarn ball at them turns them into a platform from the ball you just threw, adding a whole new layer of possibilities and ideas. See that thing? Ooh, it was actually a pipe. Throw it at this thing, bam, it becomes a present. This is a really cool idea, and is way more fun than it seems like. And that's not the only trick this game has up its sleeve. Look at this cute little bow tie. Oh, it's gone just like that. Or even push a wall if you feel like there's a secret there. Speaking of secrets, this game does its collectibles very similar to Yoshi's Island, in the sense that you have to beat a level with full health, all flowers, and all of the red coins. But instead, red coins are replaced with stamps, and stamps were used for Miiverse. May you rest in peace, dear old Miiverse. They're just like red coins in the sense that they disguise themselves as regular coins, or beads in this matter, except once you collect them, it'll indicate that it was a stamp. However, Woolly World introduces a brand new type of collectible, and that is of course, the magic wool that Kamek hid. These are hid well along with the flowers, but collecting them all in a level results in you knitting a Yoshi back together, and these Yoshis are even playable. I didn't bother about playing them because the classic green Yoshi has always been my go-to. He's been my favorite Mario character for longer than I can remember. As for what the flowers do, that's something I'll talk about later. But you don't have to do all this in one go, unlike Yoshi's Island. You can find a few collectibles here and there, and go back and replay it if you miss any. These collectibles can be pretty well hidden too. Some of them, especially in the later levels, will really make you think outside the box. But sometimes they can be a little bit too hard, especially the stamps. There's 20 of these things in each level, and even missing one of them can feel irritating. There's also these question mark clouds I forgot to mention. They're basically this game's version of question blocks from Mario, except what comes out can be anything. Like, it could be hearts to recover Yoshi's health, of course, or even one of these collectibles. Believe it or not, this actually almost ruined the game for me. Because just look at this. These beads don't appear until the platform goes all the way down. That's really dumb. Why didn't this ruin the game for me though? Because of a little something special this game introduced. The badges. These are kind of like the items on Yoshi's Island, something I didn't mention in that video, and I should probably now give a brief explanation. So Yoshi's Island has a handful of minigames. These can be played on command after getting a perfect score in each level in a world, or if you land on a flower of a ring. And in these minigames, you can win some 1-ups or items. And these items have stuff like getting extra health, revealing hidden secrets, etc. Woolly World's badges are very similar to this, except you have to buy them with the beads that you collect. You unlock these badges after clearing some levels, and I mostly just didn't use these because they mainly just make the game easier, like having higher defense, making you immune to fire and lava. But there is one badge that fixes Woolly World's biggest flaw for me: the secrets. Some of these secrets are downright terrible, like how was I supposed to know this cloud was here? But the See Hidden Items badge makes it to where invisible clouds appear when you're way farther away from them, revealing walls you can go through, and of course, showing hidden stamps. This makes the game a whole lot less of a chore to complete, but to make sure I wasn't just ruining the game's difficulty, I would still play a level badgeless unless I clear it without finding every secret. Then I would replay it with that badge and get everything I missed without having to waste my time. Perfect badge. Both of these games have really great gameplay, but honestly, Woolly World's level design was just a whole lot more fun to me, with its crazy ideas, and just overall really great game design. So Woolly World takes the cake. Kirby's Epic Yarn is widely considered as the easiest Kirby game. Why? Because you literally cannot die. Kirby is immortal in this game, so if you came here to see a game over on your screen, you can look elsewhere. But why would anyone want to play this game if you can't die? Where's the difficulty? Well, it's simple actually. The beads I talked about earlier, those are actually used for a ranking system at the end of each level, but you can see the progress at the top of the screen. And of course, a gold medal is required for completion. Sure, you can't die in this game, but you can take damage. And what happens when you take damage? This! This is where Kirby's Epic Yarn gets nerve-wracking, because not only do you lose a lot of beads when you take damage, but the more beads you've collected, the more you lose when you take damage. It's not too bad because this game is still pretty easy, but taking damage and falling into a pit, especially after having enough beads for a gold medal, just makes me sad. This is a really clever way to handle the game's difficulty, because the game was designed around the player taking a break from harder games and relaxing to play an easy game, but has a challenge to offer for those who are looking for a more challenging experience, which is awesome. So would Woolly World be the same? No, actually. In fact, this game can be quite hard. Woolly World's difficulty is about on par with Yoshi's Island, where the game can feel easy at times, while other times it can be very unforgiving. What makes the game harder is definitely the fact that you have to beat every level with max health, which yeah, I mentioned earlier that hearts come from question mark clouds, but you can also gain health when you cross a checkpoint flower. However, most of the time, not enough question mark clouds with hearts appear after the final checkpoint, so if you take too much damage, you'll have to play the whole level again. But luckily this game has a trick up its sleeve. You see, all of this implies for when you play the game on classic mode. This game has a whole separate mellow mode, where Yoshi now has wings and his flutter jump is replaced with an infinite flight ability. You can't really ascend with these wings, you just stay airborne from where you last jumped. But it can be useful for some levels. And more hearts appeared from question mark clouds in mellow mode, and gained full health from checkpoints now. I mainly stayed away from this mode because I like to have a challenge in the games I play, but if I was on the last checkpoint and only had 10 hearts, I would switch to mellow mode to get more hearts from clouds, and switch back to classic mode, just as a time saver. Both of these games have a very unique, cool, and fun way they handle difficulty, but honestly, I feel like Epic Yarn does it better. I actually like Woolly World's difficulty better because it's overall a harder game, and handles its difficulty really well, but I overall think Epic Yarn does it better because this is a game targeted for a much more casual audience, but it's more than happy to reward you for going for a bigger challenge. Transformations. This gives the games more variety. Kirby games starting with Return to Dreamland introduce a brand new gameplay mechanic that separates them from other games in the series. Epic Yarn kind of started this trend. Okay, obviously it's a lot different than the super abilities or Hypernova from the other games after it, but we don't see anything like this in the games before Epic Yarn, so I guess it kind of is? I honestly don't know, but it could be either one. Anyways, the transformations in Epic Yarn can be this giant mech that shoots missiles, a fire truck that can take out fire with its water hose, a train that uses the Wii pointer to build tracks to go over the large gaps and stuff, a dolphin which lets you breeze through the water gracefully, this penguin snowboard thingy-mabingy that lets you double jump and bounce off enemies, a monster truck that doesn't go too fast, but you race enemies to the end of the level and it's all good and fun, a UFO that lets you suck up enemies and do massive explosions, a rocket that lets you shoot projectiles, and I hate this one. This little ground digger thing that's awkward to control that does nothing more than dig through this cotton. These are all fun, except for one, and gives the game a nice change of pace. Now for Woolly World, the transformations are similar to that of Yoshi's Island, except are exclusive to these kinds of doors. And when you go into one, Yoshi transforms into wherever the room is designed for. We got Umbrella Yoshi, who lets the wind carry him wherever he needs to go. Motorcycle Yoshi? No need for an explanation for this one. Big Yoshi. It's nothing more than a Yoshi Exploshi. Mermaid Yoshi, which is similar to Dolphin Kirby. Plane Yoshi, which isn't that far from Helicopter Yoshi from Yoshi's Island. And, oh, not again. Oh, wow, they actually did it. They made it fun to dig through dirt. Or styrofoam in this matter. What makes it so much better than that thing from Epic Yarn is that it controls a lot better. And even has a much more satisfying sound to it. All of these transformations act a bit differently than how they did in Yoshi's Island. They all have their own designated rooms so that you enter, clear the challenge, and be brought back to the rest of the level, instead of it just be, you know, scattered in regular areas. Sometimes they're in secret areas, other times they're required to progress through the stage. Honestly, this game has my favorite version of the transformations on Yoshi games, because they're a lot more fast-paced and fun. Epic Yarn does them pretty well, but some of them can feel pretty slow, so for that reason, I give the point to Woolly World. Both of these games have pretty easy bosses, all things considered, but most importantly, they're still really fun. Epic Yarn mostly has brand new bosses that are all fun and unique, but in later worlds, King DDD and Meta Knight appear, who have fallen under Yin Yarn's possession. DDD originally wasn't. He was just walking around in this unfamiliar area until he saw Kirby, and was probably about to talk to him until these puppet strings appeared and possessed DDD. This isn't the first time we'll see DDD be controlled by puppet strings, by the way. DDD being controlled by these strings results in him doing a bunch of moves that we've never seen before, like spinning so fast with his hammer that he becomes a literal bouncing ball of destruction, or doing his iconic belly flop move, or dash attack if you're more familiar with those terms. You defeat him by throwing a yarn ball at him, and ground pound his back, which lowers the puppet sticks, and you're able to unravel a puppet string from it and DDD. Do that 4 times and you win. And DDD turns back to normal outside of still being made out of yarn. And Meta Knight is by far the coolest boss in this entire game. Right off the bat, you see him trying to fight Yin Yarn's possession, because his eyes are flickering from the usual yellow to the newly purple. And the red face thingy-mabingy throws out a sword which Meta Knight uses after the possession finally takes control of him. He does basic things with the sword, like doing regular attacks or throwing beam projectiles which are used to turn into a ball and throw at him. And once you throw one at him, you take the sword away from him, and the process repeats. Meta Knight is trying his best to turn back to normal, but more swords come in, and he takes one. But the swords he gets progressively get stronger. Right on the 3rd phase, we see a new crazy attack. This is a really cool and fun boss battle, but after we beat him for the 4th time, he finally turns back to normal and flees. The other bosses are cool and fun, but DDD and Meta Knight are easily the best ones. Meanwhile, Yoshi's Woolly World has a lot more returning bosses than new ones. Just like the other Yoshi games and even the mainline 2D Mario games, each world has a fortress and a castle. The fortress having a mini-boss at the end, and the castle has the real boss of the world. And just like those games, Kamek uses his magic to make them a lot bigger. In Woolly World, the mini-bosses are Big Montgomery, the Monty Mole in Worlds 1, 3, and 5, and Notwing the Koopa in Worlds 2, 4, and 6. I like how these bosses progressively get harder. Like Big Montgomery kinda just walked around in the first world, and you have to jump on his head and then ground pound him. But in the later worlds, he puts on a helmet and resorts to different attacks. But sadly, these don't help him out well. And Notwing the Koopa, as the name implies, his wings are tied in a knot, and you have to eat the knot, which is connected to his wings, and ground pound him while he's on his back while he tries to belly flop you. And in the later worlds, he changes his attacks a lot more drastically. Like he still belly flops in the 4th world, but now he does a super mega belly flop, which unfortunately for him, destroys the bridge which makes him land on spikes. And in World 6, he arms himself with a full-on bullet bill blaster, but tangling it up in a yarn ball results in his last battle. Rough for him. But the actual boss battles in the castle levels are the real deal. There's some familiar faces like Bert the Bashful and Naval Piranha returning, but the new bosses are all really cool. Bert the Bashful is probably the most underwhelming boss because all he does is jump with his new ball clones, and he still gets embarrassed when we take off his pants. Bunsen the Hot Dog, probably the coolest boss in this entire game. He's a dog that can freaking breathe fire. If that's not the rawest thing you've ever seen, then I don't know what is. Mrs. Cluck the Insincere. This is a baby chick who puts on an eggshell she colored it to resemble a hen, and attacks you with eggs that have spike balls in them. This boss perfectly shows this game's creativity. Naval Piranha, who is one of my favorite bosses in Yoshi's Island, now lingers in the background and lets everything else attack until he goes for a fatal blow to eat you. But that's where the bombs come in. Also, this boss has a nice reference. Sniffberg the Unfeeling, an ice sniffet who defends himself with an ice block, and chucks ice blocks at you to try and push you off in these ice spikes in the corners, as well as do his own cool ice attacks. Both of these games have really fun bosses, but sadly, Epic Yarns is more forgettable. They're still really fun, but I definitely had a lot more fun with Woolly World's bosses. Next up we have the music, and man, both of these games have absolutely cooked with their soundtracks. Epic Yarn goes for a much more relaxing music choice, with overall peaceful and charming music that really fits the vibe of this game, being more casual friendly, and having a cute and appealing art style. So to complement that, the music goes for a more relaxing but joyful approach. Here's some of my favorite songs. Now the boss themes is a whole different story. My favorite song in this whole game comes from the first boss, who is a dragon named Fangora. This fight is really easy because, well, it's the first boss in the game, but the theme is so good! Since the fight is easy, you won't get to hear all of it mid-game, but it does a stupidly good job at making the song feel upbeat and epic, because this is a literal dragon you're fighting, while maintaining that kinda cutesy vibe the game has been delivering this whole time. But where it gets crazy is how intense the song can get the more it progresses. It starts off pretty goofy, but then that piano solo comes in, and it goes... And then later on, the trumpets come in, adding more heat to the song, until the whole song sounds way more epic than cutesy. Until it enters the high notes, and the final result is this insanely intense song that sounds like it's life or death. It's absolute magic how they were able to capture this feeling. Sadly, the other boss themes don't live up to this in my opinion, but at least DDD and Meta Knight's themes return. And then Woolly World comes in, and also brings relaxing music to the table, and it goes... Another one of my favorites just sounds so happy and cheery. But what Woolly World does best is have a much bigger variety. Not only having relaxing songs, but just overall bangers. Right on the second level, we got my jam. The castle theme is insane, because the fort theme is good, but nothing crazy. And then the castle theme just sounds pretty scary with this weird noise, but insane beat. And then it shifts to... The volcano/lava theme in both games is really funny to me, because in Epic Yarn, It's just a piano that sounds pretty chill. Perfect for this game's vibe, you know? Let's check on Woolly World's lava theme. This is a game made out of yarn. Calm down. How are the boss themes? Miss Cluck the Insincere. I already talked about how goofy this whole fight is, but the song perfectly captures that feeling of this being a funny fight, while also sounding intimidating because this fight can get heated if you're not careful. Sniffberg the Unfeeling. They needed a song that was stone cold, and they did not fail. And what's really cool about this song is how it changes depending on the situation. Like, it normally sounds like... and then you throw a yarn ball at Sniffberg, and the song shifts to... absolute genius. And then it enters the Splatoon realm. How did they do this song so dang well? I'm impressed by it all. Both of these games have absolutely amazing soundtracks, but honestly, I find myself listening to Woolly Worlds way more than Epic Yarn's. So for that, Woolly World gets the point. Can Epic Yarn get a comeback? After we meet the 6th boss in Epic Yarn, we can finally stitch Patchland together, and we finally find a way back to Dreamland. We explore these familiar streets for Yin Yarn, in various places like Green Greens, Butter Buildings, Bubbly Clouds. We even transform into the Starship, and even Deity's Castle, but eventually we finally do find him, and we can finally battle him. The fight itself is kinda just alright? Pretty underwhelming if you ask me. He knits 2 bosses back together. Yes, only 2. But are significantly weaker than before. And after that, just go through the door, whack him, you win. Well, looks like we're done here. The knitting needles knit Yin Yarn back together, and we can transform into this big robot to take him out. Now this is more like it. You have to constantly be shooting at him while also being mindful of the stuff he throws at you too. But eventually you're able to take him out and throw those needles out of here. Kirby and the others return to normal, and Prince Fluff returns to Patchland. And Kirby is sad at first, but Fluff reminds Kirby that he can visit Patchland anytime since he has the magic sock that Yin Yarn had. So now he can visit Prince Fluff in Patchland anytime he wants, thus ending Kirby's epic yarn. Next, it's time to finish up Woolly World. After we beat Sniffberg the Unfeeling, World 6 is revealed inside of a dresser of all things, and we see Bowser's castle. So it looks like the final boss of this game is going to be Bowser. But since the Yoshi games take place during the same time Mario and the crew were babies, Bowser is also still a baby, or at least a toddler. Bowser and Kamek gathered all the magic wool so that they can make a new castle? I mean, this castle's already big as is. Have you seen this place? But first, they have to stop you. Bowser mainly just jumps around and breathes fire, but by throwing a yarn ball at him, he gets tangled up and you can ground pound him. And after you do that, he throws fire in from the background, and Kamek helps out by making them big. And even Bowser big. But after we defeat him, Kamek has the bright idea of using the magic wool to make him big. And now the final phase can start. Bowser throws ginormous yarn balls across the stage, and some of these have knots that we can eat into big yarn balls, and we throw them at the big magic wool that's making Bowser big. This boss is way easier than I remember it being, but luckily it was still really fun. After all that, Bowser goes back to normal, and the Yoshis are saved, and Kamek flees with Bowser, and the Yoshis can once again live peacefully on Patch Island, thus ending Yoshi's Woolly World. Both of these fights are really fun, but Woolly World was definitely better. And I think it's safe to say that Woolly World wins, but there's just one more aspect I have to talk about. Epic Yarn has 2 bonus levels for each world. If you get enough beads in a boss fight, you can surpass the gold medal and unlock a badge for a new level. Speaking of those, I forgot to mention how this game shows off new levels. After you clear a stage, Kirby is given a badge, and throwing it reveals the next level. And these are so fun to watch. It gives context for on how the next level opens. But as I was saying, you're given a badge after scoring past the gold medal in boss fights. And these open a new level in that world. And beating that level gives you yet another badge for a new level. These aren't really anything more than extra levels to complete, but it's nice to have these regardless. And since Kirby has a new apartment, he also has neighbors who live in the same building. Dom Wool is the owner of this place, and as you progress through the game, he asks for quite a lot of beads so that he can make the place bigger, allowing for more rooms for more characters. You decorate these places with the furniture you've collected, and once someone comes in here, they kinda just linger around until the end of the game. Except for one character who always wants to play hide and go seek. And these are all easy, all things considered. You unlock more levels to play these in as you progress through the game. The characters in the other rooms also have their own minigames, like collecting a specific amount of beads, carrying this one to a specific location, defeating all the enemies that are in this spot, and racing this one to the end of the area. These all give the game more variety with more stuff to do, but sadly they kind of just drag on. And they're required for 100% completion, by the way. The reason why I'm not too fond of these is because of how many of these there are. Like, what?! Completing these gives you a lot of wallpaper. And speaking of wallpaper, you can spend your beads on wallpaper and extra furniture that weren't in the levels thanks to Dom Wool's brothers. So now that I've fully completed this game, I can finally decorate my apartment. Marvelous. Now what does Woolly World have in store? Remember those flowers I mentioned earlier? Collecting all of these in a world results in a brand new level to be unlocked, and these are without a doubt the hardest levels in the game. In World 4 secret level, Naval Piranha is back, and is now completely invincible, so you have to try and escape the level fast, or else he will one-shot you. World 5 secret level is awesome, because you hold on to these curtains, and they move extremely fast. So you have to react quickly or else you'll miss and have to do it all over again. These levels don't have any checkpoints, by the way. World 3 has a white bullet bill that leaves off a cloud platform for Yoshi to stand on. And you have to make sure you don't accidentally kill it or else you have to do the whole thing all over again. These are definitely some of my favorite levels in the entire game, because of the way the difficulty shifts from a fun and mostly easy game to an absolute monster, and it's awesome. The best part about these levels are the Yoshis you unlock after getting all the magic wool. World 1, you get the Wii U Yoshi. World 2, you get Wii Yoshi. World 3, GameCube. World 4, N64. World 5, SNES. And World 6, NES Yoshi. Now this is awesome. Believe it or not, this is actually how I learned about all the Nintendo consoles. I remember just being amazed by this, because as a kid, I had 3 of these consoles. My dad kept his childhood SNES, so I knew what that was. But was extremely shocked to see N64 and GameCube Yoshi being right in between that and the Wii Yoshi. 2 consoles I had never even heard of at the time. Yes, I have this game to thank for knowing about all of these. And these 2 consoles ended up being on my top 3 consoles of all time. All because of this game. That's kind of funny to think about. Anyways, after you beat the game, you unlock the boss tent. And this has harder versions of the bosses in the game. They're all the same things, but now sped up. Like, a lot. This can be a challenge for some of them, but they didn't take long to do at all. Beating them unlocks Bronze Yoshi, Silver Yoshi, and Gold Yoshi. There's also the Scrapbook Theater, which lets you listen to the game's soundtrack, view enemies you've thrown yarn balls to. Yes, You can only unlock them here if you throw yarn balls at them, which I made sure to get them all. There's the Yoshi hut, where you can view every Yoshi you've knitted back together. The amiibo hut, which, oh boy. This is one of the games that utilize the amiibo functionality perfectly. Scanning an amiibo results in Yoshi having the color scheme of whichever amiibo you scanned. Every amiibo that released up until late 2015 works, so a majority of the whole Smash 4 roster works in this game. The amiibo hut lets you view and select all the ones you've scanned, but you can scan them mid-game and get the costume. And these aren't just lazy skins either, they put detail in some of them. Like when you ground pound as Deity Yoshi, he becomes Deity's hammer. Like, the detail is insane. And of course, scanning the Yarn Yoshi allows you to play as 2 Yoshis at once. Scanning a regular Yoshi amiibo does the same thing, but instead it's a Yoshi made out of plastic. This game absolutely nailed the amiibo functionality and I love it. But now the moment you've been waiting for. After collecting every single flower in the game, you unlock the secret final level in Patch Island, the wonderful world of Wool. This is one big level separated in 7 rooms, each being themed after the 6 worlds in this game, while the 7th room is its own thing. This level will truly test your skills, but it's not insanely hard or anything, just a fun little test to reward you for being very good at the game. And getting every magic wool in this level rewards you with Platinum Yoshi, the final Yoshi to unlock. And with that, it's time to finally decide which game is better. The final point goes to Yoshi's Woolly World, making it the better game, by a pretty long stretch. Both of these games are great, but Woolly World is definitely the better game. It's got way better level design, jamming music, harder difficulty for those who are looking for a challenge, a fantastic amount of content. It is nothing more than an amazing 2D platformer. Epic Yarn is good for the most part, but its easier difficulty can sometimes feel a bit boring. It's a really fun game with such charm and great ideas, and is a technical marvel for the Wii. I give Kirby's Epic Yarn an 8 out of 10. It has its flaws, but the main thing that it was trying to do does really well. And Woolly World is a very fun game with amazing ideas and level design that make it a lot more fun than most other 2D platformers out there. Some of the best bosses in the Mario universe, and one of the best art styles I've seen in a video game. Banger soundtrack, loads of content, really great challenge. I give Woolly World a 9.1 out of 10. And with that, I have talked about everything I wanted to with these games. Thanks for watching.
Weehawoo!